Let's talk about how your energy might be repelling the very people you're trying to attract. I'm in beautiful New Zealand right now, and I've just been thinking about this as I got off a call with 8 or 9 of our 7-figure earners in a circle. It's so counterintuitive because we think that the secret lies in messaging or a funnel, and the reality is those things are really important. You need to have a funnel that takes people from cold to sold, where there is traffic generated, there are leads nurtured, there is an easy on-ramp into a sales conversation. You need to have content that speaks to the right people. If you're speaking to problems down here, right, like the how to get started crowd, but you're trying to attract more sophisticated people, that messaging is never going to work. But let me tell you the number one thing that I've observed in 1,000 clients, 1,100 at this point, I think, that determines who you attract. And this is going to sound woo-woo and philosophical and esoteric, but stay with me. The most important factor in who you attract is your energy. It's your emotional state as a human being. There is a saying that like your vibe attracts your tribe. Another way I've heard it said is like you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So let's just imagine for a second you're trying to attract someone who has got their stuff together. So like let's take the opposite example for a second. You attract a client who's stressed, who's anxious, who wants their results to like yesterday, who's living in scarcity, who needs a guarantee, right? Let's assume we don't want to attract those people, right? So let's say we want to attract people who are personally responsible, self-led, have their stuff together, are ready to put the weight on their shoulders. They simply want your support, they want your guidance, but they're ready to own their results. You need to be that type of person. And so if you have built a business with, let's like talk some practical things, low recurring revenue, right? Low profit margins, you're constantly in scarcity, you're constantly trying to like get the next client. How on earth do you think you're going to attract people who have a better emotional state than you do? You do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. So the most important thing that you could do as a coach, as an online entrepreneur, is to get to a point where you're doing the inner game work to where you can live out of a more attractive state. I call it being energetically attractive. So let me take you back to when I really made this shift. 2021, 2022, we were guarantee city, right? So we were doing everything else, like we're doing what everyone else is doing online, which was basically like make a bunch of guarantees. We had a sales team, we're following up like crazy, and we're basically begging people to work with us. Occasionally we would have inbound leads, but honestly, that was a phrase I heard more than a reality I lived in. And we had to like have a triage call and then have a sales call and then have a follow-up call. Like it was just a push business. When I shifted everything in 2023, the first shift I made was removing the guarantee, but rather than just removing it, I literally explicitly said in everything I did, in the marketing and the sales and the onboarding, there is no guarantee, there's no cancellations, there's no refunds for any reason whatsoever. If you're gonna come in here, you need to own your results. And instantaneously, what happened was I changed the energy that I was bringing to the table because I knew by doing that, I was going to have a harder time attracting as many clients as I did, which was entirely true. But then what happened was I started attracting way better clients, clients that would stay, pay, refer. Now I have clients who've been with me for years, but I had to make the shift first, which was I'm no longer willing to accept anyone with just a heartbeat and a credit card. I'm going to set standards for myself, which then led me to no longer live out of scarcity. It was no longer about I'm trying to get as many clients as I possibly can. I'm trying to get my offer out there. Whoever wants to buy can buy. I set standards, which then caused me to change the emotion that I was living out of. I was no longer desperate. I was no longer scarce. I was no longer afraid. And I wish I could tell you this was all like in a decision. I woke up one day and I felt amazing. But the truth is, it took some time. When I made these changes, I started having really interesting things happening. Firstly, people would literally screenshot that part of the payment page and say, dude, this is amazing. Can you teach me how to do this in my business? I started having incredible people wanting to work with me. And then I would have people stay for a really, really long time. This idea of being energetically attractive sounds so fluffy, but I cannot tell you how magnetic you become when you are living out of a more grateful state, a more peaceful state, and a more joyful state. And these are all practical things that come from the type of business that you're trying to create. I get to coach people at multiple seven figures all the time. They come in with these big businesses, low margins, high ad expenses, big team, all the complexity, all the stress. I never see any of them able to make this transition into a more attractive energy to attract higher, better level people until they change their business model. They have to create more margin. They have to create a business model that isn't desperate to sign every human being with a heartbeat and a credit card. They have to increase recurring revenue. They have to decrease complexity. The topic of this video is really about the core idea that when you as a coach are inviting people into your proximity, does that sound like an attractive or repellent offer? Like, are you behind your Zoom camera, kind of like, forehead, like, I'm trying to think of what a facial feature would be of someone who's highly stressed. But basically, you're giving off the, I'm super stressed, I'm living off fumes, I'm hardly sleeping, and I've got hardly any money in the bank. And you're communicating that, whether it's through your words or through your energy, and then you're asking people like, hey, come work with me. And they're thinking, well, my situation's crap. Why would I want to come work with you? Or my situation needs to be better. I've got problems to solve. Why would I come and hang out with you? It seems like you're just as miserable as me. But when you do the inner work, you make these changes. You start to strategically put yourself forward in your business, like put yourself first in your business, sorry. So you build your business around your life rather than your life around your business. And you start to enjoy the process more. All of these things bleed into your content. You start needing clients less. And when you need clients less, the right clients want to work with you. I know this is kind of like an all over the place video, and I don't use any scripts or anything like that in these videos. I really just kind of share what's worked for me. This idea of being energetically attractive has transformed the way that I've run business, the way business feels, and ultimately how easy it is to get clients and keep clients. When you set up a business in such a way that you make high profit margins, you don't desperately need clients every month, you've got good recurring revenue, you have a program that actually solves problems for people and they stick around for a long time, you become energetically attractive because videos like this, an ad, an email, they don't give off the stink of desperation, right? In sales, we call it commission breath, where people are just like looking down the barrel at you on Zoom and being like, so Visa or MasterCard, there's just this franticness about them where like, the prospect is feeling like, you're the make or break for this person's rent this month. But when you lose all of that and you set up a better business and you become energetically attractive, which is both changing your business model and doing the deep inner work, really, really cool, sophisticated people who have their life together, who have their own energy sorted, they want to work with you. And so like when I think about the last few months of Inner Circle, I made a change in my sales process, and by the time this video comes out, maybe I've changed it again, but it's working so well so far. I sell everything via chat, and in the process between someone reaching out, there's ManyChat, there's a doc. I used to have to like deliver the payment link or like answer questions for people. But then I just put the payment link in the doc so the right people could literally just sign up there and then. And my fear was this was probably going to like attract like people that I don't really want to work with. It might feel like I'm lowering my standard, but I was really just trying to simplify my life. And what has happened over the last few months was so many high-level people have joined Inner Circle through this process. The first 3 people that joined through this process of being able to sign up themselves were all above 7 figures. And it was because rather than being like, and then if you still have questions, we can jump on a call. If you still have questions, you can message me. I was simply like, hey, this is either for you or not for you. If you have a question, amazing. If you don't, just go ahead and sign up. The right people go, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't need my money. He doesn't need me to work with him. And then they want to work with you. I know this sounds really backwards, but if you can really go on this journey of creating a business that doesn't keep you in constant stress, a business that makes you feel lighter, that allows you to have fun, that puts an amazing amount of money in your bank account so you're no longer desperate, scarce, fearful every month you come into acquisition, every month you think about getting clients, it changes the dynamic around all of marketing, all of sales. People can feel the shift in energy. They can feel that you don't need them, but you want them. And that's when the highly sophisticated people coming in droves. Those are the people that are attracted to people who have this stuff together. Those people are not going to work with people who are stressed, anxious, in scarcity. They're looking for people who have a solid groundedness about them, who are living in abundance, who are living in courage, who are living in confidence. And I know I'm starting to use some kind of big emotional esoteric words right now, but my real main point is this: fix your inner game first, because if you don't do that, you're energetically repellent to the people you want to attract. When you fix it, you become energetically attractive to those amazing people you want to work with, those dream clients who aren't just a human being with a heartbeat and a credit card, but are people that are aligned in values, aligned in emotions, that are self-responsible, and are wanting to stay with you not just for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or dip their toe in the water, but are going to be, in some cases, lifelong clients. So I'm hoping this kind of thought's been helpful. If you have any questions, hit me below. Chat soon.